Get this long shirt off me. Regretting the long sleeve. Long sleeve regrets. Close that right? Yeah. Okay. Oh, hey, big bite. Handsome doggo. Oh, man. Wearing long sleeve today wasn't exactly a good idea. Even for a thin shirt. Anyway. Let's get this plugged in. There we go. Blip, blip, blip. There we go. Coffee. And get this on. Oh. Do. Do. Alrighty. Bada beam, bada boom. Got that plugged in. OMG, dies of constrained furry cringe. Okay. There's nothing even furry going on outside of this paw necklace I have. And I guess maybe the shirt. I mean, okay, you know what, fine. Maybe there's a little bit of furry shit going on, but it's barely visible. Like, so, there you go. Do this. It's probably gonna be loud, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Okay. There we go. So, gonna later today see that new Spider-Man movie that came out. So, a little excited to see that. I actually forgot to watch the other one from last night, or the first one, but I mean, I don't think it's gonna be that big a deal. I'm sure I can honestly watch it in reverse order and that'll be fine. But gonna go check that out around like 4:40. Gonna go see that viewing, and it's gonna be fun, I think. Gonna get some Taco Time burritos, sneak those in a jacket of some sort, and then just like go in there and hell yeah. Tell me how a 20-piece chicken tendies, 3 large orders of fries, and 3 milkshakes come out to $53.47. What the fuck? Okay, so you got 20-piece chicken tendy, 3 large order of fries, and 3 large milkshakes. Or just 3 milkshakes. What size are the milkshakes? Or are they just one size? Because, okay. Let me try to break the math down with this. Let me just round it up to $54, honestly, just for simplicity's sake for my brain. So, like, they're a one size fits all. Okay. So they're just like a one price milkshake, I guess. So, I'm assuming the 20-piece chicken tendy is the one that's the most expensive, so that's probably like what? At least at minimal 20 bucks right there. Or at least at maximum $20 or something like that for 20 piece. Maybe like $1 tender. Maybe like 15 bucks, I'm assuming here. So we've got like 15 to 20 for the 20 piece there. So large fries, I'm assuming that has to at least be 5 bucks each, so that's another 15. So there's at least 30. The tendies were, oh my god, $24.68? What the fuck? Okay, so the tenders are worth more than $1 each? Fuck that shit. Okay, so basically $25, so half of the price is the tendies alone. Jesus, dude. What type of fucking extortion racket are they selling for tendies? Jesus. At least tell me, like, the tendies are at least nice and fat and juicy and big. Like, if they're not, at least they're about $4.33 each for the fries. So about, like, 4 to 5 bucks, like I was thinking. So at least I was accurate for the large fry. And the milkshakes, oh wait, the shakes are about, okay. So the shakes are about 5 bucks, so, you know, like $4.50. So I was at least kind of on bar with about that. So 3 of those, so that's like 15. And then you got 25 plus 15, that's 45 already. Oh my god, the fries were the cheapest thing and they were larges? Jesus. Okay, now, whatever. Dude, that's... Ugh. I mean, honestly, those prices are wacko, man. I mean, like, cause, like, at least for Alabama, those would make sense for up here, honestly. Like, if I was going to, like, a food cart, and they had, like, some shakes, fries, tendies, burgers, stuff like that, because there's food carts that sell shit like that. Like, if I went to a food cart, like, I could actually expect maybe the price to be like that, because it's all, like, homemade shit, basically. And they're all, like, sourcing it themselves and ordering it themselves, basically, and all that shit, right? Like, I could see that. At, like, a restaurant, I can maybe see that. Like, you know, a restaurant in Portland, like, you know, that's like a restaurant slash bar and grill. Like, because there's a lot of breweries that are also a restaurant in Portland. Like, the brewery and, like, the actual, like, you know, brewing factory is, like, attached to the restaurant and bar, you know, in Portland and stuff. So it's like, I mean, those places, those type of prices would be understandable. In fact, I expect the prices to be kind of fucking bougie. You know, like I rarely go to those type of places just because it is expensive. Like, I go there as, like, a treat for myself, basically. Because it kind of is. I mean, you know, so, like, I mean, what the fuck? And that's, like, for up here, I expect that shit. If I'm going to bougie places. I mean, I don't even think tenders cost that much at a fucking, like, grocery store, dude. Like, our tenders are, like, $8.99 a pound. And 6 of them can make a pound. But the thing is, well, like, it varies on the size. Like, sometimes it can be, like, 3 or 4 because they're fucking huge. And you basically get, like, 3 tenders and 1 just mega fat fucking piece of, like, breast meat. But sometimes it'll be, like, smaller pieces. So it's just like, I mean, honestly, if it's by the pound, it actually makes more sense. Because at least you're getting the price of how much meat you have, like, per weight, not by per piece. Because if you have, like, one piece that's, like, fucking huge and it's worth, like, $3, and you have a small piece that's worth the same price, it's fucking bullshit. I mean, it should kind of go based off the pound for something like that. At least it makes sense, because then you're at least buying for how much meat is actually being sold, not just for, like, some arbitrary number of pieces. Welcome to a world food desert in America, where your choices are expensive fast food or shitty overpriced Dollar General. And, hey, that's around here, too. We have that up here as well. I just don't happen to directly live in it. Like, I mean, and even then, I'm not exactly in a, you know, a diverse food area. Where I live is also kind of a food desert, too. Like, the only grocery store within about a mile radius is my store. Like, unless you want to go to 82nd, which is not exactly, you know, fun. And also, it's kind of a trek. If you're walking or biking, it takes a while. If you have a car or taking transit, it doesn't take long. But, you know, for some people, they don't necessarily, like, it's a lot easier to just go down the street versus, like, you know, taking fucking trek all the way to 82nd or some shit, right? And also, like, I mean, when it comes to fast food, there's only really a few options. There's, a couple mom and pop brand places. And then there's, like, McDonald's, Taco Bell, Subway, and that's Domino's. That's pretty much about it. Like, around where I'm at is actually, like, at least in comparison to the rest of the area that I'm in, is actually kind of a food desert. I mean, in comparison to you, it probably isn't, but, you know, I mean, food desert isn't just strictly, like, basically nothing. It's like, you know, I mean, it can be, but it also implies that, like, if, you know, one area is basically a desert in comparison to other food choices around it. Because if I was in Portland or something, there's, you know, a lot more diversity of food choices depending on where I was in Portland. But, you know, because I'm in the area that I'm in and there isn't as much variety, my area is technically a food desert. I mean, luckily there's still some options, but it's more limited in comparison to if I was, like, you know, in downtown Portland. Also, I think my vape prices are going up. A single Starbucks canned coffee and a single Blue Dream vape should not total to 50. Dude! Is everything costing more than $50 over there now for you? What the fuck? Dude. How's Alabama getting fucked more by prices than Oregon, dude? What the fuck? That just... Man, this is why Republicans suck shit. They love to boast about how they are fixing the economy, but yet it literally gets worse for them, while at least it's still somewhat incremental over year. Liberals and Democrats aren't better, you know, but at least things are slowly getting worse instead of just rapidly accelerating. So at least I could grant that. Into law taxing hemp derivatives, 35%. That's why it bumped up so much, dude. Kay Ivey fucked you on that. And everybody else, too. Even conservatives and Republicans are gonna get fucked on that. What do you think, you know, it's just like young people like you know, puffing up on vapes? Dude, there's a bunch of, like, truckers and a bunch of old guys out there that, you know, fucking huff the vapes. Oh, absolutely. How do I know? I've seen it. Like, I've seen plenty of, like, conservative blue-collar trucker-looking motherfuckers and shit. You know, like your stereotypical MAGA chug-looking motherfuckers have a big-ass, you know, fucking vape cart, you know, just like everybody else. So, you know, like, even they're gonna be butthurt. It's like, hey, Ivy, you damn cunt. This ain't helping putting food on my table, because I'm having to put more in this damn vape. Now I'm gonna be beating my wife more often. The vape got me away from alcoholism. Now I'm gonna be drinking more. Out of hands of children. Oh my fucking god, it's always about the kids with this shit. It should be, like, illegal to make that as a point, honestly. Like, oh my god, I'm so sick of it. Oh my god, we have to, like, punish adults for making their own decisions, you know, by thinking of the children. Fuck your children. Why don't you think about the children? You know, your children. I shouldn't have to think about that. As an adult, I shouldn't have to think about children. In fact, why should I? Isn't it a little weird for adults to be thinking about the children all the time? Like, over and over again, like, you know, for, like, every little thing that they do, they have to think about, oh, is there a child around or something? Like, that's kind of creepy. That's really fucking weird. Like, why must it be such an emphasis that I have to think about the kids when it comes to, like, anything that I do? Whether going out in public, you know, if I'm wearing something, or if I decide to take a drug or not. Why should I have to think about kids? It's like, fuck that, and fuck off. It's like, no, I'm not going to be thinking about the kids, and if you have to be there, I'd be like, hey, where's your parents? Go away. Get out of here. Leave me alone. I don't want nothing to do with you. Like, and you know, because I am a stoner, like, and I've, you know, like, there's kids, you know, that are, like, in high school and shit. Every now and then, you know, especially because, like, you know, school just got out and stuff. Every now and then, and there will literally be some kids, they'll be like, hey, you smoke weed? I'll be like, yeah, but why do you care? It's like, can I have some? I'd just be like, wait until you're 21, bro. Like, kid, don't be like that. Wait till you're 21. I literally will just say that and would just keep walking. And they'd be like, you suck. They would usually say something like that. I'm like, at least I'm responsible. You know, I just, like, call back out to them and shit. I mean, I mean, like, and honestly, that's about as far as it'll ever go for me. It's like, no, go away, leave me alone. Oh, I suck now? Well, fuck off then. Like, I mean, whatever. I ain't gonna be your fucking delinquent. As if kids can't come out with $20 extra for their favorite flavored cannabis vapes. Well, that too. And also, it's not like, you know, they can't convince, like, their older brother or a friend who happens to be 21 and shit. Dude, like, literally when the 21 and over tobacco law went into effect in Oregon, a lot of us, including me, were kind of butthurt because that included things like bongs and pipes and stuff. And obviously we're using those type of tobacco products for marijuana, not for tobacco. So, you know, some of us were a little butthurt because we were all like 19, 20, not quite 21 yet. I was about to be 21, so I didn't really give that much of a shit. But, but there's at least a few of my friends who were 21. And guess what I did? I sent them into the dispensaries and fucking, you know, tobacco shops to go fucking get me a bong and stuff. I just, like, you know, and shit like that. Like, I literally would just be like, hey, you know, it's like, here's some money, you want to give me a pipe, you know, because I broke mine or some shit. Like, I mean, I would do that. And I'm not the only one who's done that. Happens all the time. Should it? Probably not, but I mean, it's just a thing that happens. Like, I mean, it's not like something that should be seen as inherently a criminal thing. I mean, it should, in the sense that you should probably get a misdemeanor if you're caught, like, you know, giving, like, an 18-year-old, you know, this shit. But, you know, it's like, that's how so far it should go. It's like, a fine misdemeanor, like, you shouldn't have to, like, you know, suffer and, like, you know, go to jail or whatever the fuck. Maybe it's a community service, maybe. Like, I mean, it's like, yeah, you did it bad. Do, like, pick up trash on the side of the road for, like, 3 hours a day. You know, for, like, a week. There you go. It's annoying, but you don't get fucked over for the rest of your life for it. Because I don't think something like that is memorable to, like, fuck your life over for. Like, honestly. I mean, it's like... I mean... It's like one thing if it's like some serious shit, but if it's like you got a kid who's like outside of a weed store trying to get some like 22-year-old to get him an eighth, I mean, for fuck's sake. I mean, I think we can understand that that is not really as big of a deal. It shouldn't happen. And obviously there should be some sort of a penalty for something like that, but it shouldn't be like, you know, you fucking going to jail, bitch. It should be like, you get a fine, you have to go to court, figure out some time to do some community service for like a week or something like that, and as long as you abide by that type of shit, whatever. Like, you know, like, big whoop. Like, it really shouldn't be seen as, like, a serious big thing, because, like, so many fucking kids, like, dude, half of my friends start smoking weed when they're, like, fucking 15. I started smoking when I was 18, but, like, I mean, a lot of my friends were doing it well before I started doing it as an adult, okay? Like, I mean, this happens a lot. And to treat it more as a healthy thing and as more as just kind of, like, a health/mental health aspect of thing, or more of a societal thing instead of a criminal thing, you'll realize it actually really isn't, one, a big deal, and two, it's just because of the whole taboo built around it is why kids do this so fucking much. I mean, part of the reason why, you know, like, I kind of got curious about weed initially was because of the major taboo around it. Instead of just being, you know, properly educated on what the fuck it actually is, once I realized what it was, I went, oh, ain't that bad. I kind of went on the hype train, you know, when it came to, like, being a stoner bro type of thing for a while, but once that kind of went out of the way, you know, whatever. My dad took me to a specialist smoke shop that technically didn't exist at the time. Puff Daddy's used to be a legit underground shop, but now it's an above-ground establishment. Once the original owner went to prison for distribution, his son took over and made it completely above ground. He still sells the same stuff, bongs, pipes, such, but no weed. Just legal Delta 8 and THCO products. I think it's probably just, you know, if anything, that probably sounds like, you know, something that, you know, his son did just as a way to save face, you know, not just for his own self, but also for his family, too, in a way. And the finances, if you think about it. Because, like, you know, because his dad was busted for that, like, I mean, in a way, like, that would have fucked everything over for him and his family and shit. And their livelihood. So, to make it above ground and, like, get that legal, you know, would make it, you know, safe and kind of assure that they're not going to get fucked. Just because of bullshit laws. Because that's what it is bullshit laws. Because Puff Daddy sounds like a fucking dope-ass fucking marijuana dispensary, dude. Dude, if marijuana becomes legal, Puff Daddy's would totally be a dispensary. I guarantee it, dude. Like a... Dude, because that... It would be, like, probably the big place. New Puff personally, he says they make even more today as a legal business. Oh, I bet. Honestly, you know, thinking about it, you know, they probably do. Because now it's more official, and it's not kind of, like, underground, so to speak. So now you have, like, actual official people, like average Joe types, or whatever the fuck going in there. Everyone's too lazy to go get real weed products. Well, that as well. Like, and also, like, you still kind of have to work with gangs and shit, so to speak. You still have to work with criminal enterprise when it comes to weed. At least in that case. Not as much, but you still do. And it's just easier to get an alternative, so to speak, you know, from a legal business, because guess what? Like, if someone's going to try to get high and they can get a legal version of that high, they're going to do that. But if they don't have that option, they're going to go for the black market. I mean, it's just kind of a duh. I mean, it's just basic psychology 101. I mean, prohibition, I think it's like the biggest social experiment to prove that. or the opium wars, or the drug wars, or just anything related to drugs that society freaks out about. So this is their stores across the street from where the house they used to use as a front back in the day. That, honestly, in a way, it's not that uncommon. Like, if you got kind of like a drug house, but it eventually goes legal, usually they don't do the legal business in the same, like, place that they did the illegal shit. They usually will just set it up as close as they can to it. And if they could do it, like, right next door or across the street, then they'll do that. Because in a way, if you think about it, that actually is like a more sound investment, because now you have like a clean slate for a building, and then you can set it up how you want. You don't have to clean it out. You don't have to clean up the entire place. A warehouse? Oh, it's just straight up a full fucking warehouse? Oh, so, oh, okay. Big abandoned storage unit. Well, actually, yeah, that is even more of a sound investment, because, like, when it comes to a storage unit slash a warehouse, like, you have to, like, set that up, you know, to be a business. Like, because it doesn't have everything needed for that. Like, you would have to retrofit the building interior. But if you get another building that's already set up to be like a business, and all you have to do is just kind of convert, you know, the interior to be set up like a tobacco weed shop, you know, smokehouse place, you know, then it ain't that, you know, it's not as expensive. They don't have to do as much retrofitting, not as much work, you know. All they have to do is just set up a bunch of displays and maybe like repaint the exterior and interior up a little bit, and there you go. They don't have to rework an entire building. So that's probably why they make more bank, because, I mean, they're, you know, like, in a way, you know, not having to, like, you know, clean up or maintain and, you know, put so much money into it. I mean, granted, it is a storage unit. There's probably not much that goes into maintaining or storing something like that, but to kind of keep it inconspicuous as, like, you know, some sort of an underground thing, I mean, there's a lot of other things that go into it. Last I heard, and this was a few years ago, Puff's son was trying to buy that storage unit and wants to turn it into a cannabis-themed museum. That'd be awesome! Yeah, like, you know, like, gather and collect, like, different things, you know, about, like, cannabis history and cannabis shit, you know, from the South. Dude, that'd actually be cool. Like, here's, like, you know, the history of marijuana and cannabis in the South, and just have, like, a museum dedicated to that. That'd actually be fucking cool, honestly. It'll kind of show elements about the South's history that probably is just never talked about, because of how, like, biblically prudish they all are. So to have somebody kind of go against the grain and, you know, do that would actually be really dope. And dude, that would easily be, like, I mean, not literally, but it'd be like a tourist trap, in a sense, if you think about it. I mean, tourist traps aren't necessarily bad. Like, a lot of tourist traps actually have something for it, but there's a lot of them that are like, here's a crazy house that's all crookeded or some shit, and it makes you dizzy going in it or something. It's just like, you know, you get weird ones like that, you know, or it's just like some thing, but if it's like a legit museum or some shit like that, I mean, at least there's something that you get out of that. I mean, you know, and at that point, it isn't really a tourist trap, but, I mean, I just don't know a better way to call it. But, I mean, I'd go to it, frankly. Never really have business in that direction. Well, you know, I mean, I'm sure, like, you know, I don't know, like, when, but if, like, you know, well, I mean, it's not really if, it's like when Alabama has marijuana legalized. I guarantee you it's only a matter of time before Puff Daddy's is legitimately, like, a big business in Alabama. Like, cause, there's, like, a few small, marijuana distributors who were kind of part of the medical industry, like Nectar and Stumptown, and they became fucking, in Oregon at least, and they became huge as soon as recreational got legalized. Like, they basically exploded. So, like, Nectar and, like, Stumptown, there's a few other, like, LaModa, I think is another one. Like, there's a few that have basically exploded in, business and growth, because of recreational. And that's just because a lot of them, before even medical was legalized, they were just legit marijuana dealers, where they were just doing it on the street. And when medical got legal, they got into that business, were able to at least have it on somewhat of a surface level. And when recreational got legalized, they just kept going on, keeping it on the up and up. And just exploded, in, like, business sense. There's already a Delta 8 THC gun for a handful of... Oh, yeah, dude. Dude. Oh, absolutely. If there's only a handful of those going out, dude, I guarantee you that, like, every fucking business that is selling Delta 8 THCO is going to jump on that as much as possible. Because it solidifies, basically, their market when recreational eventually at some point gets legalized in Alabama. Because when that does happen at some point, whenever it does, because it's not if, it's just a when. It could be for a long time, I mean, to be fair, but who knows? But despite that, it basically guarantees that they will have, like, stronger, solidification of the market when it's legalized. Because they already have, like, the, background at that point. They already have the cred. 1 license per county? Damn, that's just a raw fucking bullshit deal. I mean, considering that this is the Republicans, in Alabama, I mean, that is better than nothing. I will give it that, but that is a raw deal, man. That's kind of fucked. It should at least be like 2. They should have done 2. Because then at that point, it's like, if it's just only 1, I mean, okay, so, like, is it licensed per county in the sense of, like, the business or just building? Like, only, like, 1 building, is allowed that. Like, if it's a business, depending on how big it is, like, it could hypothetically, be multiple buildings in 1 county. Like, so if you got, like, a relatively, successful, like, Delta 8 THCO business that has, like, 2, storefronts in 1 county, hypothetically, I think it means only 1 storefront per county. Okay. Well, see, that's the thing. Like, that's kind of the caveat. Like, if it's 1 license per, like, business or 1 license per storefront in the county, then that really does make a difference. If it's just 1 storefront, that's bullshit. I mean, either way, it'd still be bullshit, but whatever. I mean, considering this is, like, a Republican legislator that's, like, kind of dragging their feet with it, and they're saying reservation of the rights to issue more as the situation demands. So it seems like they're willing to cave on this. Like, Republicans are basically dragging feet and, like, basically, like, I don't wanna. Like, being like a child about it. But, I mean, they're basically are slowly but surely conceding on this issue. They're realizing they really can't fucking fight marijuana that much, so they're just dragging ass as much as possible where they can. Yes, basically it's like marijuana now. It's like, they really can't fucking fight against it at this rate. It's just too far gone for that. So, at this point, they're just literally are just trying to stonewall and drag it on as long as possible. And Alabama is one of those states. Like, they know that, like, a lot of people in Alabama want legal weed. Conservatives, too. So, the only way to placate that is to just do these tiny little breadcrumbs here and there to try to placate people. Be like, see, we'll allow medical here and there with 1 storefront per county. And then later down the line, it's like, alright, we'll maybe expand that to 2 per county. And stuff like that. Like, I mean, they'll slowly, like every so often loosen shit out. Basically hold out until they find someone friendly in the industry to them politically. I mean, basically. I mean, honestly, if you think about it, I mean, a lot of Republicans have been doing this. Like, that, what's his, he was in the 2016 primary debates. What was his fucking name? John Boehner? Yeah, I think his name was John Boehner. Like, he, literally, there was, like, an article, like, way years back when marijuana started getting legalized. I think it was well after Oregon got it legalized at this point. He literally saw the writing on the wall and basically openly said, like, yeah, I'm pro marijuana now. I see the money in it, I see the investment, and honestly, looking at it, like, it's more cost-effective and more profitable to make it legal. Like, he literally looked at it through, like, a capitalistic perspective and just went, yeah, I'm actually favorite for it now. Like, I mean, he basically saw that it's more of an investment and profitable to, be, on the side of marijuana and legalization of such than trying to continue to criminalize it. And he's not the only Republican to basically make that stance either. He was the first one, I think, to really be very vocal about it. But ever since then, there's been a few of them every now and then that have been more open about this. And I think a lot of it's just because they do have people who are somewhat friendly in the industry that, are willing to grease the hands a little. I mean, in a way, it's kind of a silver lining, I suppose. The problem is, though, you also have different big tobacco industries like Marlboro trying to get into this as well. So that's kind of another thing, too, is that you got like Marlboro, Camel, Winston, you got all these tobacco companies that are also seeing the money in this, too. And they're going to try to interweave some of their dirty hands in this as well. So, I mean, there's a silver lining to, like, lobby dollars, kind of making its way in the marijuana industry. But it's not without some really big risks, honestly. So, I mean, it's definitely something to consider, as kind of a silver lining. But it's definitely something to also consider that there's a lot of problems when it comes to, bigger industries like the tobacco industry getting involved. It's one thing if you have, like, a couple politicians saying something. But if you got, like, full-on tobacco industries or, like, bigger industries like that getting into it, that's a red flag. Not for marijuana itself. Just for the corruption aspect and, I mean, frankly, maybe even making it more harmful to, consume marijuana. Because of different pesticides and different chemicals that they put in tobacco and shit, they could probably start interweaving it into their products, too. Which, I don't want that. Do you want your Camel brand weed, Ignore? Well, not really. I'd rather take American Spirit version of weed. If I had to. I welcome corporate dollars that'll make cannabis legalization easier. Well, that's what I'm saying, there's a silver lining. I mean, it doesn't come without some risks about it, like I said. But there is a silver lining to it. Because, like I said, I mean, you can't fight marijuana anymore. Like, I mean, it's just something that's too far gone. Like, I mean, you still get some politicians on the Republican side freaking out about it, like Marjorie Taylor Greene and all these other fucking weirdos. But even then, like, is that really a big talking point of theirs? No, it's not. Like, I mean, it's not something that they crow about often. They're all freaking out about gay people and shit. Like, I mean, they don't care about weed. Like, that was, like, a big talking point back in, like, the 2000s and 2010s. But, like, these days, like, no one gives a fuck about weed outside of, like, a couple more prudes. And even then, like, they've been loosened up enough to the point where they're at least okay with medical for the most part. Like, there's a really small segment of the population that's just full stop fuck marijuana. And even then, some of those people are still okay with it because, there's like, hey, it's your own choice to smoke it if you want. I just want nothing to do with it. Like, so, most people don't care. Like, I mean, it's just not, like, something that is a major concern for people. Marjorie Taylor Greene caved and voted for the death bill, and the people who voted for her are eating her alive for it. Story goes on Fox and embarrass Fox. I saw that. Dude, we saw that a couple days ago. Dude, that was like, we saw that I think like 2 or 3 days ago. That shit was hilarious. And I love how Jesse Waters literally was just like, he just had this like look on his face. It's only 11 minutes old. What, that video? I've not seen it. No, the furry on Fox? Like, no, I saw that, like, dude, somebody uploaded, dude, that's been uploaded and circled around for a few days. What, is that a Mike video, Mike Figueredo? Because, yeah, I'm sure he just uploaded a video about it, but, like, that's been making the rounds. Or is that, like, a Secular Talk video? I don't know, I'm okay, maybe it's not a, it's Kyle? Oh, Kyle video? Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, so Kyle reacted to it, but he reacts to things like, yeah, okay, yeah, I see it here. Fox host loses debate to a furry. So Kyle finally saw it. But yeah, we saw this like 2 or 3 days ago. Like, I mean, this is kind of, like, it's kind of fresh. I mean, it's not like fresh off right off the grill, but I mean, we caught it when it was, but like it ain't really so much now. It's been sitting there for a minute. You haven't heard this yet? You sure, like, weren't you there when I reacted to it? Ah, you know what? Who gives a shit? It's a funny ass video. It's hilarious. Honestly, it's just hilarious because of how much Jesse Waters is like he literally is like squirming around, just like uncomfortable. Like, I mean, I basically made the decree that we as furries need to just like go on Fox News, wear like the most furry shit possible, and just like make these Fox hosts like uncomfortable as much as possible. Because oh my god, it was great. Go on Newsmax and CNN. Well, CNN ain't gonna really, like, they're not gonna be all uncomfortable about it. Newsmax? Oh, hell yeah. OAN? Like, yeah. You know, like, all these right-wing outlets, yeah. But if you go on, like, CNN or, like, MSNBC, they're not really gonna fuck on you for it. They're just gonna be like, oh, well, we, you know, appreciate that there is, like, you know, communities out there that are accepting diverse, like, they're just gonna fucking, you know, do the, you know, whole woke thing, whatever. RT. I guess. I don't know how they would react, though. I have not, like, heard of RT in so long. I haven't even thought about RT in, like, probably at least a year or two. I haven't even thought about them in forever. So, I don't know. Maybe, I guess. Honestly, yeah. You know, isn't RT Russian media? Yeah, I think RT means Russia Today. Yeah, it's a Russian state, or at least partially funded by the Russian state, yeah. I don't think it's outright, I think it's at least partly funded by the Russian state. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, it's Russian media. Like, honestly, the only time I was really watching RT was either for Robert Reich or fucking Lee Camp. And Lee Camp isn't on RT anymore. Like, Lee Camp is doing his own show now. So, you know, I like Lee Camp. And actually, I haven't, you know, seen a lot of his stuff as much because, like, it's not really on YouTube. Though some people do re-upload his content there, and he's fine with it. So, I mean, I don't really see his shit as often anymore. Mainly because, like, he is not afraid to talk about, you know, controversial things, such as, like, you know, things like the CIA gets involved in and shit like that. Things that are kind of like, you know, what whistleblowers are talking about. I mean controversial on that shit, not like, oh, vaccines or something. Like, he's not one of those dudes. He's legitimately like a, like, progressive lefty type. He's just like somebody who is not afraid to just kind of like call spade and spade when it comes to being on, like, you know, media or on a platform like that. And of course, you know, he gets pretty suppressed because of it. I've seen him live once in Portland, actually, when he was doing a few tours and shit. He's actually a really cool dude. Let's see, the Furry on Fox. Yeah, I know. I just want to have the song finish up first. You know how I am about songs. I like to let the song wrap up before we, you know, check out things. Happy Pat Robinson Remembers Day. Yeah, I saw that earlier, dude. I literally went, I literally screamed, oh my god, he's dead! Like that. And I looked at the article and went, and then right after I went, holy fuck, he's dead! I literally yelled that. I was like, oh my god! I thought that, like, albino chimp motherfucker would never die. But nope, it has happened. This just shows we're not in, you know, our true timeline, dude. We're not in the true timeline. Shit that shouldn't be happening is happening. It's like, what the fuck? I mean, it's just like, damn, bro.
Fox News, as always, sticking to the important issues. And Jesse Waters here decided to grill...
Kyle, change your fucking lighting, dude. This makes your weird fucking American flag in the background look like a Blue Lives Matter flag, my dude.
Furry. Yes, you heard that right.
Honestly, are people in the comments, like, you know, saying anything about that? I never thought I'd die fighting side by side with them. Oh, you... Furry hate's so weird. Oh, I love it. I'm going first, why do I like it personally, but as long as they're not hurting one. Have it. This guy's generally happy and doing something he loves. It's better than most people. Yeah, whatever. Most furries are based, so, like, not surprised. This feels like a parody. Who the hell on Fox let this interview happen? Just while his ex-wife divorced him after he was caught cheating on her with one of his employees, since we're talking about sexual degeneracy. That's true, actually, yeah. Oh, whoa. Ooh, woo. It's ooh, woo. Nice, it's such a silly place. No one's mentioning about it. Everyone's just talking about the furry. Well, I guess this is like a fresh clip, but whatever.
All right, David, how old are you?
I'm 32.
And what are you supposed to be dressed up as here?
Well, currently, I'm a raccoon.
And why are you dressed up as a raccoon?
Look at Jesse, dude. Dude, look at his face. It's just like... He just looks so uncomfortable and not happy at all. Oh my god. He usually has like this like... Like he has like this smug, condescending grin on his face like 95% of the time. But oh my god, he just doesn't have... He doesn't have it. He can't even force it up at all.
Isn't it fun?
The raccoon has more soul than Jesse's eyes. He literally does.
For you? You tell me.
Oh, for me, absolutely. I'm hoping it's fun for everyone around me. The joy of bringing smiles to everyone's face is really the only reason that I like to do this. Getting smiles and bringing people happiness in all sorts of ways. The furries, I know specifically, are great at art and dance and theatrical performance.
Let me just pause here to give you a little bit of the backstory. So Ron DeSantis, of course, has been cracking down on trans people. He's been cracking down on...
Yeah, actually I know exactly what Kyle's going to talk about here. We'll just skip it because I already know. Basically, Ron DeSantis put some legislation that's tied into this whole, like, like drag shows and all this other shit. This feels like a lot like the anti-work interview. No, it doesn't. Because, like, here's why. One, this furry is, like, straight up, like, doing it and being legit just, like, casual with himself. He's just, like, just being himself. Like, that anti-work dipshit did that as a way to fuck people over, really. And try to make everybody look bad. Like, that piece of shit did that even, like, against the will of, like, what a lot of people in that suburb were even saying. Like, because there was, like, a talk about this, and that person was like, hey, should I do it? Everyone was like, no. Like, let's have somebody else probably do this, because we don't think this is a good idea. Like, let's actually, like, kind of, like, work this out first before we actually, come to a conclusion about doing it. And that person said, fuck it, I'm doing it anyway. And, like, just literally made everybody look bad and made this whole idea about, like, labor work just look like a bunch of weird, lazy, do-nothing kitty fucks like that dude. Which isn't the case. And even, like, if there are some people like that, that's not, like, necessarily inherently the fucking point. It was manipulated. Well, the thing is, though, like, they weren't. That person was, not being manipulated really by any sense. Like, they were doing the manipulating. Like, I honestly do hold them 100% at fault for that. And I think, honestly, they were non-binary or trans. I'm not 100% too sure. So I think I might have been they, them, or she, her. But I don't remember. I don't really remember too much about that person. All I know is that they, frankly, were kind of a piece of shit. And I do not like them. And that person also, like, when this type of shit spread around, like, and they got called out by pretty much, like, most people on the left and shit, they went on, like, every fucking platform, from Kyle's, Vosh's, like, everybody going out of their way to go into comment sections, like going unhinged, trying to defend themselves, like, doubling and quantupling, and just, like, infinity doubling down on it. And be like, no, you're all wrong, I was right, y'all just don't understand, blah, 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 and all this other bullshit. So, they don't even have a sense of fault over this. Like, they definitely weren't manipulated. This token sent to a trans folk. Well, yeah. Then again, I mean, I do too. I don't give a fuck about them being non-binary trans. And again, I don't really remember if they were or not. Because I don't exactly remember every detail about that person. I just do remember they were queer to some extent, but that's not even the point. It's the actions that they did. Like, I don't really give a fuck if they're trans, NB, or whatever the fuck. I don't care about that. That's not the problem. Like, it was fundamentally, like, the actions that they did. And the thing is, this furry, like, he wasn't like a part, like there wasn't like, some community, like a community, like, hey, should you do this type of thing? He's just like one person, and who just happens to be a furry, and probably somewhat of a known figure to a slight extent, probably a native of Florida, and, probably goes to a lot of different cons, and at least, like, probably even hit them up personally. It's like, hey, I'm a furry, want to have me on to talk about this or something? Maybe he even did it himself, and decided to go on there and just, like, do things on his own gumption. And also, legitimately, it's just, like, being more truthful about himself and actually being a lot more, like, casual about it in comparison to just, like, making people look stupid. Because he's not. I mean, this furry is legit just like, yeah, like, bringing smiles to people's faces. That's why I'm a furry and why I like dressing up and stuff. I mean, I don't know. What do you want me to say? Like, that's basically about as far as it goes. The furry menace of our children. Yeah, here, let me get to that point. Because I actually paused it so I can get to that. The reason why this is even happening in the first place is because that isn't soon. He's doing that already. He did that. Like, he literally is doing, like, furry conventions, can be illegal or shut down if there's people who are under 18 at the conventions. So basically forcibly making furry conventions 18 and over for really no fucking reason. Like, even though most furry cons are all ages, outside of maybe, like, a handful of them. Like, there is legit, like, a handful out there that are, like, 18 plus or 21 and over, but that's, like, a handful. Like, most, if not, at least, like 9/10 of, like, all cons out there are not that at all. Like, I mean, for every, like, 10 cons that are all ages and shit, there would be one that maybe is 18 plus. It's just like, and those ones are way smaller and don't have nowhere near as much recognition. If anything, those are kind of more of, like, word of mouth, so to speak, more so than openly advertised, like Anthrocon or something like that. I mean, so it's like a lot of those more adult themed furry cons and shit are more kind of like word of mouth, and you just kind of have to know people, basically. I mean, can that be subverted by just kicking out kids and checking IDs at the door, pain in the ass? Yes, but subvertible. The thing is, furry cons do this already. Like, I mean, just because cons are all ages doesn't mean that there are 18 plus panels or things like that, because they definitely are. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, when I was at Furlandia, there were, the first time I went there, I wasn't 18 yet. It was just like, I think I was like 17 when I first went. And yeah, there were some things where I couldn't go to at the furry con because I wasn't 18 yet. I was restricted from it. And after a certain point, it's like outside of like the dance hall, essentially, after like, I don't know, I think it was like midnight or some shit, like, yeah, it's like basically don't really have much access to things. It's like outside of a couple things here and there, or like the last, few like all age panels and shit that are going on for the day. But beyond that, like, after a certain point, there's certain segments of the con that are just straight up like, hey, this is 18 and over. Unless you have an ID to confirm that you're 18 and over, then, you can't go past this point. And that's even for the dance part too, for the nights as well. Like when I was, for those cons too. Like at a certain point, it's 18 and over because some people are, maybe wearing some more, kink-based type of gear and stuff like that, and don't necessarily want to have this whole fucking risk of like people freaking out, oh, kids, grooming, blah, 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 and all this other shit. So, I mean, if anything, a lot of these cons take a lot of precautions to make sure that kids are not anywhere near adult-themed type of shit. Like, straight up. Like, I mean, a lot of these cons take a lot of precautions, with that type of stuff. And also, at least, for, con badges, like, I actually have mine over here. Yeah, it's right here. Like, they have different types of con badges. Like, some of them are for, like, that are, like, for general mission, that, and you're an adult. You get, like, these ones that are kind of like, they had, at least this year was blue. And if you're a youth, they had, like, I think, like, an orange one or a yellow one or something like that. So there's at least, even the badges will distinct, whether you're a youth or an adult, too, as well. And at least, whether you're 18 and up, I mean, whether you're 21 and over, you still have to show an ID for that. But, at least, when it comes to, hey, you're an adult, at least, there even con badges will distinct that sometimes, so you don't have to always check your fucking ID every time and shit, right? So, I mean, it's like, there's a lot of ways to circumnavigate these things, because frankly, like, if you actually, have, responsible organization and parents that give a fuck, and like, in actual just hey, like have a hands-off approach when it comes to the law on this issue. Frankly, people are able to figure these things out on their own. Like, people can think of the children without necessarily having to worry about having their shit banned.
Well, I mean, you're also great at spankings. Did you see the video we just played? What's going on?
The greatest spankings.
Spankings at the furry conventions.
This is so disingenuous. He took a
So, I mean, in the original clip that I saw, Kyle didn't have that part of the clip, I guess. The original clip showed a restaurant, a German-themed restaurant that happened to be around the corner from the FurryCon that that was in Florida, for this whole thing. That, a part of, one of the traditions of that restaurant is that if you want to, as a patron, you can get spanked. And, there's a clip, that Jesse Waters used of a furry who decided to do that and spread it around on social media and shit. And he's using that as a clip of, like, see, this is what furries are about. This is what they do, and they're exposing kids to this.
So, of somebody dressed as a furry getting spanked, being hit with a paddle, like, once. And his extrapolation from that is everything, it's all sexual. Any event with furries is 100% sexual. That's his takeaway from it.
There's a popular restaurant called the Habra House, and this is a restaurant that is pretty close to one of the conventions that we set up every year. And at the Habra House, it's customary in Germanic tradition to, I guess, slap the asses of all of the patrons. Why?
I didn't know the German...
That's kind of a ridiculous response, too. That's kind of a ridiculous response. Just make the argument I made.
I mean, dude, whatever. Dude, this furry ain't political. Like, I mean, what do you expect? I mean, dude, his answer was fine. Yeah, that's literally what it is, though. Like, he's literally... Sounds like a wonderful tradition. I mean, it does, to me personally. I mean, Germans are known for being kinky. So... An excuse to grab ass. It's not really an excuse to grab ass, but to spank ass. But the thing is, the employees are doing that to you. You're not doing that to other patrons, like, you're getting the ass spanked.
No, furry stuff is not inherently sexual in all circumstances. There are plenty of kid-friendly furry events. Just make that point. That's the point.
So why do you want kids around people dressed up as squirrels getting spanked?
Me personally, I don't.
Exactly. He does.
Of course he does. No, I don't think anyone does. No one wants to, but oh my god.
No normal person does. It's just, again, total red herring. Effectively, kids are banned from all these events, even if they're not adult themed. This is the unintended consequences. It's like with drag shows, right? The assumption is 100% of them are sexual. Yeah, but they're not. But that's not true. So, should kids stay away from adult-themed things? Absolutely. But if it's not adult-themed, it's to steal an old phrase from Obama, which I think is perfect in this scenario. Don't use a hatchet when you should be using a scalpel. Right?
Definitely an adult-only environment for that. The furry conventions themselves don't have anything to do with that, though. The furry conventions themselves are really about community and bringing people together. A lot of us...
See, Kyle, he's making this point later. Like, don't be jumping the gun and, like, pausing all the time.
We're not so socially, it's a little bit tough.
Okay.
It's easy to make fun of furries.
Oh, that's actually...
Aw. I know, like, I mean, even Kyle's like, aw. It's just like, because, yeah, like you're saying, sometimes it's, like, socially tough, to acclimate to society and shit. That's kind of what he's trying to say. When he's saying it's like it could be tough.
It's a little bit tough.
Okay.
It's easy to make fun of furries.
Oh.
And that's when Jesse started getting his smug look on his face. He's like, oh, it's tough, good, Like, that's when his fucking, like, face started just coming out.
That's adorable, right? He's like, a lot of us furries are socially awkward, but this is how we like to get together and find community, is we dress up as furries, and then we meet each other, and everybody's, like, nice to each other.
I mean, the audacity of just, like, such, like, niceness and just, like, sweetness and stuff. It's like, oh, wow, the depravity. People get together who might be a little awkward, in normal life and shit, get together and, have a sense of community. It's like, oh, depravity. If you're gonna take a kiss to go, you're sure they can handle seeing some titty. I mean, they shouldn't be going to, it should be neither.
This is the issue that the right is, like, crusading on,
Yes.
Gotta crack down on these evil furries. DeSantis, go give people health care. By the way,
maybe he should get himself some mental health care by getting himself a lobotomy, DeSantis. It's like, maybe he should, like, you know, take some advantage of that, you know, himself.
Ago, but it should be reiterated. Hundreds of thousands of Floridians lost health care because DeSantis rejected Medicaid money. That's what you should be focused on. Get people health care. Get people higher wages. No, instead he's waging a war on the furry community.
Why are you upset that kids are not allowed to be at the furry convention?
Well,
Because, like, kids should be allowed to, you know, see cool, expressive, creative things. Like, I mean, what's wrong with a kid seeing that shit, you fucking nub? It's like, my God, Jesse.
me personally,
That shit time. Well, I'm gonna keep reacting to it, so if you miss something, you're going to have to go back.
that it is a great way to include everyone, no matter, you know, what their age.
And honestly, there's like a bunch of kids who are also are furries. Like when I was at the furry con that I was at, you know, like at least for a good chunk of the afternoon, there was like, you know, teenagers and other kids, you know, like who were, you know, getting up in like the whole furry thing too. And like there's nothing wrong with them at all. They were literally just being kids like any other kid would be. That's like touching grass and going outside and hanging out with their friends. You know, they're, well, hanging out with friends at an event where there's, well, just a shitload of furries, because they also happen to be furries. It's like, that's the thing about furries. Like, I mean, it's not like some age-restrictive thing. Like, anyone of any age could technically be a furry, basically. I mean, it's just literally an interest in, like, you know, shit like this, basically. Like, anthropomorphic stuff. Whether it's, like, fursuits, the arts, or, you know, or anything else in between that.
There's nothing
I
inherently...
mean, fuck, I got into furries when I was a kid, for fuck's sake. Like, I first, like, you know, started getting into furries when I was, like, fucking 13, for fuck's sake. Like, well over a decade ago. I've been a furry for, like, goddamn near, like, what? Fucking, like, 12, 13 years now?
channels that teach you how to
I'm basically, like, a gray muzzle, you know, to a lot of furries now. Like, I'm an oldie. I've been around the block a few times.
create costumes or dance or, you know,
Dude, look at Jesse, man. Look at his fucking face. Like, now that he got that smirk, you know, and that grin on his face, you know, to come out, now he's just really like, that's it, huh? Like, drag shows, right? Like, he's just got that fucking look on his face. Oh my God, this piece of shit, man. I just so badly want to rub that grin off his fucking face. Which is why I want more furries to fucking, like, you know, pop up on Fox News and annoy Jesse Waters, because... like, it was one of the few times where I didn't get to see that smug-ass grin on his face, and it's great. And he's still having to, like, squirm around a little bit, too, though. He's still uncomfortable.
we have variety shows and all kinds of stuff, but it's not sexual. It has nothing to do with that.
Okay, you say it's not sexual. That's fine.
You heard the buzzword. Okay, you heard it. I heard the buzzword. So you say it's not, but anyway, I say it is. So, nuh-uh. What do you say about that, huh? You little furry degenerate bastard.
that proves otherwise. But if, like, the governor said you can't have kids at the convention, why wouldn't you just say, okay, it's too bad, move on? Why are you and your crew so insistent?
You and your crew. I love that. Like, I mean, yeah, us furries, we run in like, you know, a crew, dude. We're all just like a gang, bro.
I'm having the kids there.
So I don't think that there's a huge backlash, but, I mean, I could be wrong. There's...
I mean, I guess there unfortunately is, apparently. It's all just like a psyop, honestly, by these Republican fucking weirdos, you know, trying to astroturf this shit into it. I mean, that's just what is going on. Like, because frankly, like, I mean... like, just the idea that, like, you know, there's, like, weird grooming or whatever the fucking shit going on at cons and stuff is just ridiculous. Like, I mean, and even if there's, like, you know, some maybe, like, outlier case that might have happened, usually what happens is that those motherfuckers get immediately ousted and pretty much exiled from every fucking con and basically from the community itself and told to go fuck off. Like, I mean, I mean, honestly, there are a few names that some furs are aware of and basically, you know, say, hey, like, this person is, like, no longer accepted, essentially. There's, like, I think there's, like, one dude who was, like, named Kiba or some shit. and another dude named like Keno or whatever the fuck. There's like a few names, and they haven't been heard of in a long fucking time, mainly because they're fucked off and exiled this shit for being either like, you know, pedos or some shit or whatever the fuck else. You know, it's just like, I mean, because of, you know, those type of things. So whenever there is, you know, shit like that that's called out, furries are like the first number fuckers to basically, you know, be, you know, like basically putting them to the fucking stake, you know, within their own community before pretty much anyone else does. It's like we're the first ones, you know, snip that shit out in our own fucking communities and stuff, because for good fucking reason. Because it's meant to be a, you know, safe and like accepting community, and when you got like people who are jeopardizing and undermining that type of shit for their own like abusive, exploitative pleasures and shit, then they need to fuck off and need to, like, you know, be ousted and shit. And there is like a sense of vigilance, you know, when keeping an eye out for stuff like that, because I mean there are, you know, like a lot of kids who are furries and shit. So I mean, especially to a lot of furries who are adults and stuff, I mean there is an emphasis to at least, you know, being, you know, keep an eye out for stuff like that. I mean, don't make it like, you know, crazy vigilante, like Death Squad shit, like, you know, a lot of these fucking far-right freaks are doing. But just like, you know, just keep out for the, you know, cues and the red flags and shit, because it's not like they don't happen. Like, very, very fucking rare for these type of things to even happen in the first place because of that shit.
It is, from my understanding, the convention just wants to avoid any legal gray areas that might be present in the law.
There is no massive backlash. They're just afraid of the legal gray areas. They don't want to be prosecuted on one of these furry things if kids are there. And so they're like, okay, there we go. No kids. Let's, you know, we'll comply. So he's like, his premise is wrong. His assumption is wrong. But of course, the whole purpose of the segment, Jesse Waters is great at this, is like, bring somebody on and just try to make a mockery, right? And he did this with, what was it, the Reddit anti-work page or something? And the guy was a terrible representative of that sort of a position, and so it became, you know, sort of fodder to...
Man, I don't even know that.
To beat up on these people. It's very straw-man-y. Bring on, like, the worst representative of one of these communities and then beat them up. Now, to be fair...
Just watch one of your success videos and saw your live. Appreciate good content, man. Thanks. Hey, no worries, man. Yeah, I mean, at this point, I kind of moved on doing streams like this for the most part. But, you know, like, I mean, in a way, I still do a lot of sessions and shit. Because, I mean, I smoke often with these things anyway.
This guy, I think he's actually doing a half-decent job. Where he's being very clear and saying, no, things are just for adults. But it's not like every furry convention is a sex
Venom, stop it. Jesus.
So, yeah, that's effectively why kids should be allowed. I mean, look, it's like, remember back in the day, when I was a kid, you go to McDonald's, and there would be somebody there sometimes dressed as Ronald McDonald on one of the days, and they would give, like, face paint to the kids and stuff. And if, like, that was banned because it's drag, or because it's a furry, or whatever...
Oh my god, I remember those, like, weird-ass Ronald McDonald's and McDonald's, dude. Like, god. Like, it's, man, like, there are just so many things that are just, like, normalized, so to speak, that legitimately are just straight-up kind of weird. Like, that type of stuff. I've even mentioned it before, I think even last night, about, like, child beauty pageants. Like, that shit is genuinely legit fucking creepy and weird as fuck, and just dead ass does not, like, you know, just doesn't really have any fucking merit, you know, of being a thing. Outside of just, like, exploitation of children, you know, and, like, frankly, in a lot of fucking ways. And yet, like, you know, it's the furries, or it's, like, all this other shit that, you know, somehow, like, the big problem, or, like, you know, the big weird red flag in society. It's just like, well, this is, like, what the fuck? There's all these other things that, for all intents and purposes, could be seen as, like, red flags, you know, when it comes to, like, you know, children, but are just totally taken for granted and normalized. And some of them directly involved kids, like I said, like, child beauty patches and shit. You know, and yet, again, just for the most part, seems fine.
Adult dressed as something else. If you disagree with that and you speak about it, is this a fair reaction? Is it a fair reaction to be like, well, why do you care? Why are you so insistent that it not be banned? It's like, let the kids have fun, right? This is harmless. This is harmless. And it's like, you can't do something that's kind of authoritarian and then be like, well, why do you disagree?
Man, it just reminds me of, like, the Portland subreddit where I posted, like, hey, you guys know this FurryCon, and fucking a bunch of weird conservative NIMBY liberal fucks decided to astroturf it. like AstroTurf my post to be, and one of them was like, "This is weird. Kids shouldn't be allowed there." And I emphasize why. There's nothing wrong with this. I mean, it's harmless and kids are having fun. I mean, like, what's the big deal? And they're like, "Oh, well, I'm not implying there's something sexual. I'm just saying it's weird. And kids shouldn't be there," and basically implying that it is sexual, and just walking it back. And it's just like, oh my fucking god. I mean, it's like, and it's like, well, you know, and it's like that type of shit. It's like, why care so fucking much? Even if you walk back and say, oh, it's not sexual and shit, but you just literally think it's weird, so thus, oh, kids should not just be allowed there, period. It's like, what, do you want, like, you know, there to be some laws on that type of shit? It's like, you know, I kind of wish I'd respond to that motherfucker more and be like, really? So it's like, do you think there should be a law against it? Like, what? Like, I mean, how far do you think it should go then? Because, like, it's harmless, there's nothing wrong, nothing bad happened, and all I saw was a bunch of kids having fun and a bunch of adults having fun. Some people see children effectively as property. Yeah, because honestly, a lot of our society, especially in the very Christian capitalistic framework, you know, do see children as property. Like, I mean, and that's just like sentimentally, it's like a fucking problem. Where it's just like, hey, I mean, kids aren't fucking property. They got lives, they got interests and shit. And some of that, yeah, shocker, includes furries. And sometimes they might want to go to a con and, you know, be around stuff that they're really interested in with their friends. And even if they are furries and shit, you know, maybe they got a friend who is and just wants to hang out with their friend. You know, so it's just like, I mean, either way, who gives a flying fuck? In fact, honestly, like, at least for these big-ass cons, like Anthrocon, like the biggest one in the U.S. and shit, like, a lot of parents, you know, at least in Pittsburgh, where that one's set up, like, a lot of parents and a lot of families, you know, at least in Pittsburgh and shit, will just go there just, you know, because it's, like, kind of a big thing there. Like, you know, some parents will just go there just so their kids can see some cool suits and shit like that. Because it's kind of like, you know, a lot of people in Pittsburgh have just essentially have, like, you know, kind of taken in the wings of, like, Anthrocon a little bit because it's so big. Like, I mean, just, like, every year it happens, there's always, like, a local news report being like, oh, so the furries are back, guys. And all that shit. So, I mean, yeah, at least in Pittsburgh, it's basically kind of, like, normalized over there now. Where, you know, even parents and their kids, you know, will go over there to hang, just not, you know, because they're furries, but just because, you know, they know what they are, they're chill, and their kids enjoy it. Like, I mean, so, and if anything, that just, you know, like, just, like, you know, kind of continues, like, the growth of that type of community anyway. Because, I mean, then there's a lot of kids that might be teenagers later down the line, or young adults, too, who will be into that type of shit. And what's the fucking big deal? Like, you want, I mean, you know, there's always gonna be people interested in this shit no matter what, anyway, because you want to have, like, anthropomorphic-style animation movies and shit like that anyway. You want to have things like Fox and the Hound or Lion King or anything this shit, or Zootopia, whatever the fuck else. Like, I mean, like, it's just like, the shit's always gonna exist, and there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, that's why, you know, it's never, like, especially at least when it comes to furries and stuff, there's nothing, like, age restrictive about it. I mean, you could technically be a furry at really, like, any age, as long as you are able to understand what the hell it is. Like, obviously, you can't really be a furry as a toddler, unless your parents make you that way, I guess. I don't know. But, I mean, you know, it's just like, either way, though, it's just like, I mean, if you're, like, you know, a kid, understand what the hell furry is, I mean, you could probably, you could be a furry. I mean, it's not really that big of a deal. I mean, it's just, it isn't, you know, some weird age-restricted thing. It's not the same thing as, like, you know, some other, like, you know, like, interest or some shit, you know? It's like, it's basically, like, tangential to being, like, you know, into anime, or into, like, you know, MLP, being, like, a brony, or whatever the fuck. It's, like, the equivalent of that type of shit. It's like, some communities and some fandoms aren't age-restrictive. Like, there's people of all ages that enjoy things. Shocker!
It's authoritarian, of course. It's not the biggest deal in the world.
Like, I mean, there's furries who are dead ass, who are, like, straight up, like, fucking, like, 50 and 60 years old and shit. There's, like, furries who are fucking seniors. Like, literal, like, you know, gray muzzle furs and shit. Like, you know, straight up old. And then you got plenty of them that are about my age, or my peer group, like, 20, 30, maybe 40 a little bit. And then you got a lot of them who are kids and teenagers. Like, you know, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, you know, it's like, it's not an age-restrictive thing. So silly.
Again, you're not focusing on the big deals.
Hungary's trying to attract American immigrants, and mom has shown interest. Hungary? Red flag alert. I can't imagine why they would be seeking Americans. Probably a lot of conservatives who want to flee the U.S. because they think it's being indoctrinated by wokeism. Like, Viktor Orban is probably just doing that as a way to probably get, like, conservative Americans to move to Hungary. You know, to kind of help solidify a more conservative voting base, probably. I don't know. Viktor Orban's a very fucking fascist, and Hungary has slowly drifted towards fascism because of that, so that's a red flag, dude. I mean, I'd pull up some stuff about, Viktor Orban and shit and show that to your mom and be like, are you sure? Are you sure you really want to go there? I mean, it's like, I wouldn't necessarily mind visiting Hungary for like a weekend or something like that if I was like in Austria or some shit. She thinks the EU is what America was meant to be. I honestly, I don't know about that. But, yeah, Hungary is not one of those countries you want to be in. She believes the EU propaganda. Well, I mean, whatever. Like, it's not really the big problem. Every country is fucking different. That's the problem. Like, the EU is not a monolith. Like, what, does she really think the EU is like a monolith? Because it's not. Like, like Germany, France, fucking UK, all these countries are different from one another.
On getting people health care and higher wages. Anyway, we don't have to go much further through this. You guys get the gist of it, but this is where Fox News is at, man. It's culture war 24/7.
Oh, so you're not gonna...
Let's go after trans people.
Oh, right here. Okay, I want to see more of the clip.
And it's very easy to vilify us.
Okay. Do you blame yourself at all for being misunderstood? I mean, you're the one dressed up as a raccoon.
Oh, absolutely. I think that this is absolutely crazy and weird and fun. And that's the point. I think, it's supposed to gain attention. I like being on stage. I like performing as a character. I like bringing joy to people.
Okay.
That's why I
If I came to one of your conventions,
of
David, or maybe we sent Johnny to the convention, what should we dress up as?
A cockroach, or literally like a bloodworm. Dress up as a bloodworm.
You can dress up however you want. We've had Jack Sparrows show up. We've had all kinds of different animals. What kind of animal do you think you would be?
Probably a dinosaur.
Jesse, you answered that question kind of quickly, didn't you? It's almost like you thought about this before.
Yeah, he probably has, unironically.
Is he secretly like, God, I wish I could do that? You can't help but like this guy who's being interviewed, right? Because he's just like, yeah, I know this is weird. Yeah, I know it's kind of goofy, but I like dressing up.
I mean, yeah, because he's at least self-aware. Like, furries are pretty self-aware about themselves. That's the thing about Jesse Waters and why he looked like such a fucking embarrassing goof. Like, I mean, because, like, I mean, at least the furry's legit, honest, and self-aware about themselves. It's like, yeah, he literally even says, like, yeah, I know, this is crazy and weird, but that's kind of the point. In which, yeah, part of it is that. It's like, yeah, I mean, a part of it's, like, to not really just show your, like, self, but to at least have a different aspect of yourself, be expressed, and use that as a way to kind of open yourself out. Like, that's, I don't know, kind of the point. It's like, my God. I love these conservatives who literally just never understand, like, the initial point about what the fuck these things are supposed to be about. They just think it's, like, weird and degenerate, thick, I have to find, like, the tiniest little, like, out-of-context clip to try to justify their stupid bullshit. And if they can't find one, then they have to astroturf something up and, like, psyop something into existence, to try to make their point. Here, let me do a time check real quick, yeah. Yeah, cool. I just gotta make sure that I have at least enough time to get to the fetus, which should be able to. And then we can come back and fuck around and talk some more shit. Someone needs to fix their brakes. My God, I can hear that from out here. Thinks that you has a better system that allows different cultures to unite without one overwhelming the others. I don't necessarily think that's how the EU operates. And also, like, I mean, because, like, every country in Europe has, like, to some extent, like, a fairly distinct culture from the other country and shit. Like, I mean, the whole idea of, like, being unify this into the same thing, you know, as like America is in their minds. That's why, like, in some countries, there's more of, like, you know, right-wing, you know, rise and shit, while other countries, like in France and shit, there's more of kind of, like, a left uprise. Because you got, like, leftists and shit, you know, rising up and fucking, and just people in general rising up in places like in France, you know, about bullshit going on there. But at the same time, you also have similar fucking far-right organization going on in places like in Poland, Germany, Hungary and shit, Italy. So, I mean, it's just like, you know, just because, like, you know, they're all a part of the EU to some extent or another, doesn't mean they're all somehow, like, the same. Or, like, you know, united. I think so now the EU federates or disbands. I feel like it's more likely it would federate more. Even with, you know, things considered. But, I don't know. I mean, I don't know too much about all the specific intricacies about all that shit about, like, European politics and the general, you know, feelings about the EU and shit over there. I imagine it's probably mixed. Like, I'm sure a lot of people probably are, you know, in favor of the EU system or expanding it or, you know, further and stuff. And I'm sure a lot of people are more about disbanding it. I mean, I got no fucking clue, really. Jesus, dog! Hey! Hey, do you mind? What the fuck? Hey! Bruh! Bruh! What the fuck? Dude! You gotta be kidding me! It's people, but... It's just the neighbors bringing back their garbage bins because those trash... Oh my god, dog. Oi! Hey! Get over here! What the fuck? Those are trash bins and recycle bins. You don't need to be fucking going off over that. Goof, get over here. Get over here. That's not getting over here. Oh my god. Portland's Portuguese shit. I kind of found it's like, oh yeah, Portland's its own like independent city-state now. I want to be able to be a part of that though. I'm too far outside the limit of the city. But that'd be kind of cool. But, well, maybe not. The meta-free trees move somewhere more suited to our tastes. Well, I mean, you know, like, I know Portugal is actually pretty chill. Like, they, you know, are definitely, like, honestly, like, if I were to, like, you know, actually, like, you know, out of the different countries, I mean, Portugal will definitely be one of the countries I'd consider moving to, if I had to go to anywhere in Europe to live. It's either that or, like, France, Iceland, maybe Germany. I know they kind of, I mean, I know they are dealing with, like, you know, a similar kind of conservative uprising thing, too, but at least their government knows how to deal with, like, the more extreme elements of that shit, so, I mean, there is at least that. I don't know, you know, Norway, Denmark, you know, like, fucking Sweden even, Finland. Finland would be actually pretty quiet and, you know, pretty peaceful, I think. Maybe a little too solitary, I feel like, but I don't know. Portugal doesn't have legal cannabis, so they just won't charge you for it. Well, yeah, it's decriminalized, which is good. I mean, they won't charge you or anything like that. When am I going to Ireland? Oh, yeah, Ireland, too. I want to go to the UK, but Ireland, yeah. I mean, honestly, there are definitely, they issue citizenship based on ancestry. Well, I know I definitely got Irish background. I mean, I am a quarter Irish, so I guess that would be pretty easy, not wanting them for me. I suppose I'll have to, like, go back far enough to try to prove it. You're over 50% Irish? Well, hey, there you go. Probably be even easier for you. 40% minimum? Ah! Well, fuck shit out of luck. Boo. Boo. But anyway. Yeah, I'm gonna get the last little bit of this bowl cashed out. Then go to movie theaters and all that fun stuff. Never talk about the new Survivors movie. because that's going to be the one I'm going to check out. Germany have far right stuff? Yeah. I mean, not to the same extent like America does, but I mean, it's definitely got, you know, like a right-wing element going on. But anyway, I'll be back a little bit later tonight and all that fun shit, but gonna go check out some movies. So, anyway, peace out, and, oh, you sent me a link. Well, here, I'll check that out when I come back and all that fun stuff. I'll probably be back, I don't know, like, in 4 hours, something like that, who knows, but anyway, peace out until then, and see you when I get back.